Out on the Navajo reservation, we don't have the city come and collect our trash. So we burn our trash in these huge burning barrels. Not very eco-friendly, I know, but that's what we got. If you don't light the trash properly, the fire will go out and the trash will just sit in the barrel. This is important because we are told to dispose of personal hygiene items correctly. If you remove all your hair from your brush, make sure the trash is burned. If it was that time of the month, make sure the trash burned. If you changed baby's diaper, make sure the trash burned. They tell us these things because skinwalkers have been known to dig through the trash in order to find things that they can use against us. They use the things that we were briefly connected to and bring misfortune onto us using these things. Some of my family members take part in the sport of rodeo. So to practice, they have a roping dummy and take turns roping it. My two male cousins were enjoying themselves outside and taking turns swinging the rope at the fake calf. The elders are always adamant that we shouldn't stay out past sundown, especially out on the res where it's pitch black and no one for miles around. But my cousins aren't the superstitious type, and they were under the streetlight. My cousins are joking and laughing, having a great time. That changes when my eldest cousin looks over to the burn barrel. A dark figure is bent over and rummaging through the garbage that failed to burn. My cousins devise a plan that they're going to grab weapons, sticks, and rocks and go and chase whatever it is. They move strategically so that they are able to flank the figure. They run full speed at it and begin yelling and swinging their sticks and throwing their rocks. My cousins stated that they kept up with it for the most part. That was until the figure ran under the streetlight. What my cousins thought was a person was actually a goat. Why would they think it was a person? Because the goat was running on its hind legs. They stopped running and fear ran down their backs as the figure ran off into the dark. Feeling nervous and not entirely accepting what they just saw, they began roping the dummy again. There was an awkward silence among the boys now. They just saw something unnatural, but talking about it now would just make it seem real. Were they crazy? Did they really see a skinwalker? The boys roped the dummy in silence until one of them looked over to the tree. There was a head peeking out at them. If they didn't pay attention to it, whatever it was would poke its head out from behind the tree and stare. When they would look in the direction of the tree, it would quickly move back out of sight. This was the final straw, and my cousins ran back into the house. They told their parents, and my uncle came out to look. It was still there, poking its head out and going back behind the tree. My uncle loaded his gun and started walking toward the tree. He aimed and pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. The gun jammed. Whatever it was began to run, but it was so fast. Like a blur, as my cousin describes. When it left, my uncle came in and gave the boys a thorough lecture about staying out late. The next day, my cousins told my uncle that whatever it was had been digging through the trash barrel. They went to investigate, and the creature had pulled a lot of things out of the barrel. What was odd were the tracks. Goat prints were all around the area. They followed a set of tracks, and there they found a baby diaper, several feet away from the barrel. Whatever they saw that night had very malevolent intentions. My cousins say that although the sight was ungodly, they know what they saw and stand by their claims. The Navajo Reservation is the largest reservation in the U.S. It goes into New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. This story takes place in the northeast region of Arizona, near Indian Wells. This was told by people from around that area. If you're heading west on State Highway 15 out towards Dilkin, you come to a stretch of road that goes into a small valley. I remember going down this road in my youth. If you looked at the horizon, it would seem as if the road kept going. Then suddenly your car would be pulled down by gravity as you followed the road. It would always give me butterflies when we would be going down the slope. When I heard the story about this road, it made my stomach feel different. A man was driving home one night and it was very late. It was a drive that he had done before, so he wasn't too bothered by it. When you are driving on the reservation, sometimes there isn't any way to keep cattle from getting on the road. No fences means that you need to be extra aware. I was always told to look for the black horse. If you see a black horse, then you'll be able to see anything else that may wander in the path of your vehicle. So this man is driving home, not paying too much attention. He drives down the slope, but when he gets to the bottom of the valley, he sees it. doesn't have enough time to react. Suddenly, a horse comes out of the darkness. He slams on his brakes, but he is unable to stop and hits the horse with his truck. The impact was not enough to deploy the airbags, but the man was tossed around quite a bit by the incident. He turns on his emergency lights and gets out of the car to assess the damage. The front of the car was crumpled, and one of the headlights was destroyed. He cursed out loud. This was the worst place to have an accident, and he didn't have signal to phone for help. He then remembered the horse. The man went into the cab of his truck and got a small keychain flashlight. He started shining around looking for the wounded animal. He heard noises, but they didn't sound like a horse. He was positive that what he hit was a horse. As he approached the sounds, he could see the animal's fur moving from its ragged breathing. As he got closer, he began to realize what it was. There was a naked elderly woman wrapped in a large pelt. She was moaning from pain. The man stopped dead in his tracks and got weak from fear. He stumbled back to his truck, and although it suffered plenty of damage, he was able to get it started and drive off. Once he was able to get signal, he called the authorities. An ambulance drove out there and recovered the woman. She was driven to a local healthcare facility. Due to the fact that many of the healthcare staff were Navajo, no one wanted to touch the woman. The woman was known in the community, and she was thought to be bedridden. This was shocking, because she was so far from home, and the state she was in was immensely off-putting. She still had on her attire when she arrived at the hospital. The nurses called her family to come in. When her family got there, they removed her pelt and her jewelry. The staff were very frightened, but there were some non-Navajo staff that still provided her with care. The elderly woman had only bumps and scrapes. Other than that, she seemed just fine. She was able to get up and walk around that same evening. She went home with her family that night, but after a couple of days, she passed. In the Navajo culture, if you find out who a Skinwalker is, you have the power to destroy them. After the community around Indian Wells found out who, or more fittingly, what this woman was, it was for certain that her time was at an end. If you haven't read my past stories, please do so. I enjoy bringing these stories to those outside of my family and will continue to do so. Thanks again for all the support and the reads. Best, Ellen. Okay, so to start out, I live in Mesa, Arizona, which is basically Phoenix, Arizona, because the main cities of Arizona spread out into many cities with no border in between. Mesa is what I would call the suburbs of Phoenix. I live in an apartment complex I would describe as close to the ghetto, but still nice. I live in a one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment with my girlfriend. Arizona is a state full of ancient Native American history. I live next to a Hohokam canal, as do many Arizonans. The whole place used to be cities of ancient Native Americans. The point is, I'm in the area for what I believe to be a skinwalker. I'll get to my story. Yesterday I was drinking, one of the things I picked up during the COVID-19 quarantine, or what's enforced here, and I decided to smoke a bowl in my apartment patio, which I don't usually do, mind you. I just finished loading up my pipe and taking the first hit when I hear a voice, somewhere nearby. "Amanda, open the door, please." It was a young, probably in the 20s, girl's voice talking, and it sounded calm and teasing. It continued on as I tried to ignore it, smoking my last bud. After about 4 times of it repeating itself, my curiosity caused me to look for the source. I saw, in an apartment building facing across from me, movement. I saw a dog, standing on its hind legs, leaning on a door, tapping. At first I shrugged it off, of course. Then I heard the voice again. It sounded exactly the same as last time. Exactly the same. As if you had recorded their voice and that sentence and replayed it again. There wasn't any other sound or movement in the complex. I watched the thing knock on Amanda's door for like 30 seconds in what I would call a state of shock and curiosity. Then it stopped. It didn't move for another 20 seconds. Until the dog, or the thing, stood all the way up, away from the doorway, on its hind legs and turned to face me. It made eye contact with me, which is weird because we were at least 50 yards away. I'm on the 3rd floor, it's on the 2nd, but I felt it looking at me. I held its eye contact. I was so scared. I felt like I should run. Then it got on all fours and headed down the stairs slowly. At the bottom, it started slowly walking over to me. I was on all fours now, about to go inside or scream, I don't know. But I had to know what this thing was going to do. It walked close to my balcony. Yes, it was a dog, a brownish yellow, dirty-looking thing with big eyes that were 100% attentive to mine. It didn't seem natural, to be honest, but nothing looked wrong at a glance, except that it was staring into my eyes and wouldn't stop. I ran inside as it reached the bottom of my stairs and locked my doors. Soon I heard clawing at my door. Doggy clawing. Next, I heard the door handle jiggle, then it started on my porch door. I, of course, never answered. Instead, I hid behind my kitchen counter with a knife. After about 30 minutes, it left. I stayed up all night, but I didn't see it again, and I didn't go out again. I'm hoping it doesn't come back. I haven't gone outside at night again. I'm burning sage and trying to be as careful as I can.